The rules are your best friends. Hi, and thanks for showing back up. Protecting your rights is one of those things that takes consistent, common sense action. Your staying involved is good practice, and it says good things about your chances to win. This is the third video of this series, the second substantive one, and if you happen to have missed the other two, you can sign up for the series below if you're watching this video on site, or in the About This video if you're watching it on YouTube. Our second lesson here is going to be of the no-brainer variety, and yet I tell you that many, and perhaps most people, don't do it. If you do, your chances of winning go way up. This video is brought to you by yourlegallegup.com, your advantage if you're being sued by debt collectors. The lesson for today? You always need to know the rules that apply to your situation. We'll talk a little bit later in the series about why people don't always use common sense and how important it is for you to stay grounded in basic common sense. But in this video, you'll be reminded of one of the common sense rules, which is that whenever you start a contest, you need to know the rules. All the rules. Why is that so important? Because the rules are probably going to control what will happen to you, for good or ill. In fact, you'll find that in general, the rules will be your very best friend. The debt collectors can't seem to follow them, and you will want to, both so that you can punish them for not doing so, and also so that you can get some predictability into your life. If you can't depend on the law to apply the rules evenly and fairly, what can you depend on in our society? Not much. Am I being an old fuddy-duddy? Not likely. It's the rules that force the judges to pay attention to you when they often don't want to, and it is the rules that will force the debt collectors to leave you alone eventually. Always follow the rules as much as you can, and always insist that everybody else do too, as much as you possibly can. The rules are your best friend in this game, I keep saying. So what are the rules we're talking about here? It depends on the game you're in. We're going to assume right now that you're in the debt collection game, and that game is going to be played all the way to judgment. There are different rules for collection after judgment, because that's a different situation, or for appeal, and you should know them too, or for pre-litigation negotiation for that matter. But let's start with the rules of debt collection. The first rule of that game is the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. We'll refer to that as the FDCPA for obvious reasons. The FDCPA applies some basic rules to the behavior of every debt collector, including saying who is a debt collector, what they must do, and what they can do. And of course, it tells you some things that you should or should not do. If you have debt problems, what is the very first thing you should do? Duh! Get a copy of the FDCPA and read it, and start reading about it. And just to help with that, we've included a downloadable copy with this video. If suit has been filed, the rules have changed to a degree. Now you have rules of the court to contend with also, and for most jurisdictions, these are contained in the rules of civil procedure for your state. These give you a whole new set of deadlines and guidelines to follow, and they are supplemented in many states by what are called the local rules. You can get the rules of civil procedure for your state by Googling them. The local rules will be at your court's website or physically at the court. Look, don't complain. You can learn these rules. There are lots of rules in life that aren't written down and are nearly impossible to find out before you stub your toes on them. At least these aren't like that. You have to get the rules. They are your only chance to control the judge and the other side a little bit. Did I say control the judge? I did. You never know what your judge is going to do. Sometimes they're quite conscientious. Sometimes, oftentimes actually not. Sometimes they're sympathetic to you, but more often they aren't. All you need to win is a level playing field. Make sure you get it. Knowing the rules is essential to that. For the sake of irony, I put a lot of quotations from the courts about how they're supposed to give pro se parties a break when it comes to the rules and all of that, blah, blah, blah. I tell you that is misleading. It's the debt collectors and judges who will want to break the rules. They'll get away with it too if you're not sharp. The next and last set of rules we're going to discuss here today are the rules of evidence. They are the rules that will control what the court ultimately listens to and decides your case based on if you hold it to that. For most states, the rules of evidence are kept together in one book, but not always. Remember what I said about the rules of evidence in the first video. They control the outcome of the case in maybe 95% of contested debt cases. We'll talk more about them later, but yet again, if suit has been filed, you can know the rules of evidence will matter. Get them for your state. You can Google them. There will be rules along the way of various sorts. I hope you leave this video with a specific goal to get all the rules that do now or will apply to your case, right at the very beginning. Like I said, most debt defendants don't do this. Be one that does. Know them. Hold yourself to them. And hold the other side to them too, as much as you possibly can. They can seem complicated and strange. It can seem unfair to hold you to them when, after all, you're not a professional lawyer. But the rules are your best friend. Know them and use them to win. In our next video, we're going to back up a little bit and talk about debts, what they are and how they affect you. We'll get into why it's so hard for most people to use common sense in protecting themselves when they're being sued. Till then, as my dad used to say, don't take any wooden nickels. YourLegalLegUp.com